This episode is brought to you by Pure Energy Apothecary, a woman-owned skincare and wellness brand founded by my friend Dawn Lancaster. Dawn and I go way back, deep diving into essential oils. We shared a passion for creating intentional products, just like the ones Dawn continues to craft today with Pure Energy Apothecary. When Dawn said she wanted to offer you 20% off Pure Energy products, I was thrilled. Pure Energy products are handmade in Vermont with ingredients you can pronounce, and they smell amazing. They are rooted in real aromatherapy. Visit pureenergyvt.com and use the code PURECHANGE for 20% off just for being a part of the Change Happened community. Pure products, pure purpose, pure energy. Welcome to Change Happened, Then What? Where in Season 2, you'll hear voices drawn here by one thing: change. Each episode brings you a story of hope, unpolished and unfiltered, where stories got messy, where people questioned everything, but also where they found a way forward. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find your own next steps in their words. Because when life breaks open, that's often when the most beautiful truths finally have room to grow. I'm your host, Heather Holt, and I am so happy to have you here today. Just a few things before we dive into this week's episode. For those of you who entered last week's Change Challenge question at changehappenedpodcast.com and answered University of Madison, Wisconsin, you're correct. You'll be entered into this month's drawing for a super soft Change Happened Then What tee or trucker hat, your choice. And don't forget to stick around until the end of today's episode for this week's Change Challenge question. Also, a quick apology for being a day late with this release. There were a few last-minute changes that needed to be made, as you'll hear towards the end of today's story. All right, let's dive in. What would you do if the doctors looked at you and told you it was time to say your goodbyes to your loved ones? That you probably weren't going to make it through another day? What happens when you decide to fight for another breath? When you choose life even when it seems impossible? When saying goodbye simply isn't an option you're willing to take? Today, you're going to meet Kelly and hear her remarkable story of resilience, love, and what it truly means to keep finding gratitude in every single breath you're given.
Before, we lived on top of a restaurant, owned it, and worked it. So I started working when I was 10. I learned a lot of wonderful people skills and hard work and tremendous work ethic and customer service skills from that. But it was also very interesting having drunk people in your basement every single night. I went off to college, got a degree in marketing, and then came back and became the general manager of that restaurant. I met my husband there, fell in love at first sight, literally saw him, and then came upstairs and told my mom, this is the man I'm going to marry. She's like, are you sure he hasn't even asked you out on a date? And sure enough, he waited the prescribed 3 days and then called me, and then we were inseparable ever since. I retired from that restaurant because we wanted to start a family after we got married. I did not want to raise my kids in that same lifestyle. I wanted white picket fences, and I wanted to be the house on the corner I wanted to be the cool mom. I wanted to have all the kids come into our house and playing basketball and so on and so forth. When I left the restaurant industry, I started my own business with Mary Kay Cosmetics. It was one of the best chapters of my life, I think. I didn't drive a pink Cadillac, but I did drive a free car, won diamond rings and trips, and it was really a great experience. When my daughter came along, I had been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. My daughter had been diagnosed with nonverbal autism, and my husband had been diagnosed 2 years to the date of my cancer diagnosis with glioblastoma brain cancer. My mom, who was one of my biggest supporters, had a massive stroke.
Within just 4 years, Kelly's world would change completely. She would be diagnosed with ovarian cancer. Her only daughter would be diagnosed with nonverbal autism. As Kelly's family faced one challenge after another, her mother suffered a stroke, and then the love of her life, her husband, was diagnosed with glioblastoma, one of the most aggressive forms of brain cancer there is. A glioblastoma, or a GBM, begins in the brain's supportive tissue that grows fast, spreading microscopic roots that make it nearly impossible to remove completely. Even with surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy, it's a fight few survive for long. The average life expectancy after diagnosis is often measured in months, not years. But those who've lived through it, patients and caregivers alike, often say the same thing. You stop counting time and you start counting moments. After a 6-month battle, Kelly's husband passed away, leaving her and their young daughter to navigate life on their own. And back in 2003, schools and services for children with autism were nowhere near what they are today. So, Kelly did what survivors do. She took matters into her own hands. She began advocating fiercely to make sure her daughter received the education and support she needed. And in the process, she discovered strength she didn't know she had.
A girlfriend of mine and I decided that we would start a school for kids with autism. In the grassroots days, I was the maintenance worker, as my mom would say, the chief cook, head bottle washer, and and so on and so forth. So, and was able to hire and grow staff as we continued to get bigger and bigger. We moved 3 times. Was really excited when we were able to purchase a 40,000 square foot building on multiple acres, kind of in our town area. We quickly became one of the top schools for children with autism, and we had students and staff and donors and supporters, and the work that we did there and the work that I did there, I'm still to this day extremely proud of. So in May of 2023, I was diagnosed with pneumonia. I had a cough and a little bit of a fever and stuff like that, and just went to my local doctor, and he sent me over for an x-ray, and sure enough, I had pneumonia, and they put me on antibiotics. Excuse me, and that didn't do anything. And then they put me on more antibiotics, and now they added an inhaler, and that didn't do anything. Well, we were planning on taking a family vacation down to Florida, and my doctor said, you know what, go. The fresh sea salt air and relaxation and Florida sun, you're burnt out. You just need to go and relax. So we left, and for 3 weeks, I just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Wound up in the emergency room down in Florida. He said it was still pneumonia and added steroids now. But I could not literally walk from my bedroom at the house we were staying at to the bathroom and have enough oxygen to get there and back. And just had no idea what was going on. And we got home, and I was changing. There was stuff that was going on that even mentally I was changing. It turned out that I was being deprived of oxygen because my lungs weren't putting out. I didn't have pneumonia. Day after we got home, I went into respiratory failure. I only had my oxygen levels were at 50, and they're supposed to be at 98, 99, 100. And they took me to the emergency room and admitted me for respiratory failure and put me on nearly like 90% oxygen to try to get me to breathe. And it wasn't working. After a couple of days, the fabulous doctor in the ICU finally figured out what was wrong with me. And it turns out that I have a very, very rare autoimmune disorder called anti-synthetase syndrome, and I have a PL7 strain of it.
Okay, let's stop and rewind for a second. What Kelly said is a mouthful. Anti-synthetase syndrome, specifically with a PL7 antibody. It's an incredibly rare autoimmune disorder where your immune system, for reasons even doctors don't fully understand, turns on its own body. Instead of protecting you, it starts attacking healthy tissue, especially the muscles and the lungs. Kelly's specific form, PL7, is one of the rarest types. Only a handful of people are ever diagnosed with it, and it makes everyday things, breathing, walking, even lifting your arms, feel like climbing a mountain. If you listen closely while she's talking, you might hear it. There's a soft hum in the background, the sound of oxygen that helps her breathe. It's subtle, almost hidden beneath her words, and yet somehow her voice still carries such strength, such determination, that it's easy to forget what it takes for her to speak each sentence.
I spent the next several months in ICU and in a step-down cardiopulmonary unit, fighting for my life one breath at a time. Mm-hmm. And that day in June of 2023, when the doctor came in and they were going to move me to a larger hospital downtown in Chicago, he came in and said, you know what, I don't know where this is going to go. It's pretty bad. I was in critical condition for weeks. And he's like, I just don't know if this is going to, how this is going to go. He's like, I think you need to say your goodbyes. That's not something I really ever expected to have to do in my adult life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I can remember slipping into a place. It was, touch and go. For me, a near-death experience was not your white light and paddles and floating above your body. That wasn't what it was for me, but it was just this beautiful peace that I had. And I can remember talking to myself as myself, and we were hashing it out. Should I stay or should I go? And made the decision to stay. And then began to fight back and try to do what I could do. And, the doctors will even say, I'm surprised you're here. And I just tell them, like, yeah, it was, I had my doubts too, but I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad I stayed and I fought for each breath. Pardon me. I'm glad you're gut editing.
Normally, I'd take that part out of the conversation, but this is Kelly's life now. She coughed through most of our talk. There were long pauses, deep breaths, moments where her voice would fade and return. She even used a microphone designed to dampen the sound of her oxygen machine so the recording would be cleaner. But just for a moment, I wanted you to hear it. I want you to hear what Kelly's world really sounds like, without the edits, without the polish, because this is the story behind the story, and they both matter. Her words are powerful, yes, but so is what you hear with them. The rhythm of her breath, the strength it takes to form each sentence, the quiet persistence of a woman who refuses to let circumstances silence her voice. Give the gift of calm. Dear Sweet One lullabies are personalized, astrology-inspired stories set to soft, soothing music, each one handcrafted to bring peace and connection. Whether you're welcoming a new baby, searching for a meaningful gift, or simply craving a moment of stillness, these lullabies are a beautiful way to say you are loved. Visit changehappenedpodcast.com to order yours today.
I was in intensive care in one hospital, then they moved me to a bigger hospital, and I was in intensive care there as well, and then moved to this step down, still pretty intensive care area, and then I moved over to a rehabilitation hospital, Shirley Ryan, which is one of the top rehabilitation hospitals in the world, and it was there where I started to relearn how to walk. It was there where I relearned how to start to do, because my balance was gone, my speaking was hard. I was on a large amount of oxygen full time, needed oxygen to even sit in a chair. I couldn't do stairs when I left there. I could do a stair, but with a gait belt and people hanging on to me. It was like the adult version of just being a baby again. It was actually there where I began to appreciate, love, and crave the solitude. It was so beautiful to be responsibility-less. My school, people that were there were running it. Everything was going great. I had people step up and took good care of my daughter. I knew where she was at all times, and she was doing okay. And all of my bills were on auto pay, and I just had this time to be able to just be quiet and heal. I can't explain it any more than it was one day at a time. I did a lot of journaling. I did a lot of meditation. I did a lot of breath work. I did a lot of physical therapy, occupational therapy, so on and so forth when I was in the hospital.
I can only imagine what it must have been like for Kelly to have to relearn everything she once did without thinking. The things most of us take for granted became mountains she had to climb every single day. Standing up from a chair felt like she had just walked around the block. She told me that when she first came home, she couldn't even make it up the stairs. One step, that was all she could do. One step, and that was it. She was lucky though. She had a strong support system. Family and friends who showed up for her and for her daughter, helping carry them both through the hardest days.
I came home and I started the very next day for 18 months of every single day, 3 to 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday, of rehab at Shirley Ryan, outpatient. And so I would get up, get dressed, take a nap, because that's how exhausting even dressing was for me. So I'd get up early, get dressed, take a nap. Some nights when we had an earlier call, I would actually sleep in my workout clothes because I knew that I wouldn't have enough energy for therapy the next day. And then some wonderful human being, whether it was my dad or my sister or my best friend or a group of girlfriends, they drove to my house every single day, put me in the front seat, folded up my rollator, grabbed my oxygen for me, tossed me in the car, drove an hour to rehab. They went and had lunch, did some shopping, got their grocery running done, waited for me, and then put me back in the car and drove me an hour back. And this went on for 18 months, and I never missed an appointment. Somebody was always there to take me. And that, I look back on those times and I just think about these women and how spectacular, and my dad, he was a guy, but how spectacular it was to be able to be supported in that kind of a way.
Kelly tells me that before everything changed with her health, her and her daughter were always on the go. They were active, playful, busy. But when Kelly came home after months in the hospital, followed by 18 long months of treatment, life looked different. For so long, all the focus had been on Kelly and her recovery. The transition was hard on her daughter, who suddenly had to adjust to a mom who couldn't do all the things she could do before. Still, they found new ways to reconnect and to stay connected. Kelly lights up when she talks about her daughter. She tells me about who she is, her kind heart, her determination, how much she loves to help around the house, And she shares some little things that they do together now. The small daily rituals that keep their bond strong. Different, yes, in many ways, but deeper.
So we started doing a bunch of really cool new things. There was new equipment in the house. Now she knows how to turn it on and turn it off, and she'll find it for me if I need it. She knows how to turn it up and turn it down. I mean, she likes to do the laundry, and she sweeps the floors and runs the vacuum. It's like I have my own little live-in housekeeper. So she feels really proud about helping in the house. She waters the flowers and she feeds the birds, and she plays piano and rides horses, and she has a really good life. And we're really, really, really fortunate and blessed that she's a go with the flow kind of a person. Taking my daughter to a concert on Friday night. This little indie band that's gotten pretty big. They're a Canadian band called Walk Off the Earth.
We digress for a minute, the way good conversations always do. Somehow we end up talking about what we'd wear to a concert with our kids now that we're both a little older. Kelly assures me, laughing, that she will not be showing any of her wares there. It's one of those moments where the laughter feels like medicine, and a reminder that even after everything she's been through, Kelly can still find humor, still find light, and still find herself.
So as I was sitting on the couch, rehabbing, in between all my naps, I decided, retirement, wasn't planning on it for a couple more years. However, I'm medically retired and considered to be disabled. What could I or what would I? Because I'm not done given to the world yet. Given this new health situation, I also have something called myositis.
On top of the PL7, Kelly also has myositis, a condition where the immune system, for, again, reasons even doctors still don't fully understand, turns on the muscles instead of protecting them. There are a few different forms, but in all of them, the body becomes its own battlefield. The immune system, the very thing that's meant to defend her, has somehow mistaken Kelly for the enemy. It would seem as though Kelly's entire immune system has turned on her, like she's done something wrong, but she hasn't. That's the cruel part about autoimmune diseases. It's your body fighting a war you never signed up for, and yet, even in that war, Kelly refuses to lose herself. She still finds ways to laugh, to love, to show up for her daughter, to keep breathing gratitude into every single day she's given.
And I have these things called flares. And there could be a day where I could be perfectly okie dokie one day and then the next day not be able to get out of bed. Pretty painful and so on and so forth. Right now my body is powered by steroids and 8-hour release Tylenol. Bottom line, I guess, is I wouldn't be a great employee. I wouldn't be as dependable as I could be if I were to work for someone, right? Because I just don't know what's going to happen each and every day. And when I commit to something, I want to do it really, really well. So, and I had been coaching people for years in the world of education, helping to coach them to what's the next step in their educational career and so on and so forth. And so I went back to school online. I got my life coach certification. Now I coach primarily women, a couple of men, how to move through transformative times.
I bet Kelly was one heck of a coach. I know I would have used her if I could have. We had such an amazing call the day I spoke with her. We laughed. Her spirit was so bright, it practically shone through the phone. Afterwards, we texted back and forth, talked about grabbing a virtual coffee one day, just to chat more about life and the simple things. So, when I reached out to check in with her before the airing of this episode, and I didn't hear back right away, my heart skipped a beat. I tried to tell myself she was just busy, maybe resting, maybe she was with her daughter. I waited a couple of days and sent another message. But when I got the voicemail from her friend Chris, and not her, my heart sank. I called Chris as soon as I could, and Chris told me that after a 2-week battle at home and another almost 2 weeks in the hospital, surrounded by the love of her family and friends, Kelly's immune system finally won the fight her spirit had been carrying for so long, and Kelly had no more breaths left to take. I still want to share with you what Kelly told me before we got off the phone that day. I asked Kelly what made her smile, and she didn't hesitate.
Being alive every day.
Just being alive. Such grace. And then I asked her if she could share one piece of wisdom, what thing she'd want others to remember from her journey. And it's not surprising that this is what she had to say.
Slow down. If you think you don't have time to sit still for 10 minutes a day, then you should sit still for 20 minutes a day.
Kelly shared this little nugget with me through our conversation, and I thought I would be amiss not to share it with you, especially under the circumstances. It feels like such a gift now, something she left behind just for all of us to carry forward.
My dad's going to be 90, and he tells me that a week feels like an hour now, and I can feel time going faster and going from one thing to the next to the next. I don't want to get to my very last day and just say, boy, am I glad the dishes were done my whole life. I want to say, boy, was I really glad that I decided to make a snow angel with my daughter one day just for the heck of it. Or I want to be able to leave with peace and joy and knowing that what I brought into the world was not more of the ick. You know, we have a human side and human things happen. However, I want to live in peace and joy and happiness and freedom.
I am proud to have known Kelly for the time that I did, and honored to still be able to tell her story in this way. And why our paths crossed, I can only trust. But I believe we're doing the work together that we're meant to do. Chris shared with me that Kelly was part of that very small percentage that statistics say only about 1% of people fall into that are organ donors. She was able to donate 3 of her organs, and Kelly would have been so honored to know that parts of her will continue to live on in this world, that her strength and generosity didn't end here, but are helping others breathe, move, and live fuller lives. She was blessed with an amazing support system. Her daughter is grieving, of course, but she does understand how much pain her mom was in. She is surrounded by love, and she will be well cared for the rest of her life. And Kelly was so excited to tell me that her father was going to be turning 90. She was in the hospital the day he turned 90, but I am sure she was extremely excited to see that day. Kelly and I talked about our spirituality, and we both shared a similar belief. Even though we've lost her in her physical form, her light will continue to burn bright and shine down on all of us as long as we're willing to see her. And I hope anyone who hears Kelly's story lets a piece of her light shine on you and remind you that life is short. And like Kelly says,
Slow down. Slow down. Go too fast.
Today's Change Challenge question: what did Kelly grow up living over? You can submit your answer at changehappenedpodcast.com and click on the Change Challenge button to be entered to win the monthly prize. The first drawing will be November 18th. If this episode spoke to your heart, I'd love for you to visit changehappenedpodcast.com to join our monthly mailing list It's also where stories like this continue, with blog reflections, more about each guest, and ways you can support the show. And if you've got 30 seconds, leaving a review or 5 stars helps more people like you find stories like this. Think of it as paying for your coffee at the local coffee shop. Change Happened, Then What? Is written, edited, and produced by me, Heather Holt, with the loyal background vocals from my 2 sidekicks, Waylon and Dalton. Until next time, keep smiling, and maybe let your dog produce your next big idea.
There's always a reason to always choose joy. There's something deeper that the world can't destroy. Smile when you think you can't. Smile, get up and dance. Smile, there's a bigger plan. The storm only lasts for a while. So smile.